Guess it would help if I did that, huh? So, have you guys seen this video yet? This is insane. This is a pretty good driver, if you ask me. So, I'm just going to finish watching this. So, I am back. Welcome to part 2 of our drawing video on my iPad Pro 9.7 inch. We just got done with an hour-and-a-half video of learning how to draw this guy, where this humongous truck is being a show-off is where the reference photos were, and we really don't need those reference photos anymore except for color, and I honestly know most of those colors, and so we'll cover those. I talk a lot about coloring techniques and how to keep it simple and why it's important to keep it simple, especially when you spend an hour and a half just doing this sketch, which should not take that long. I would be in a lot of trouble if it took me an hour and a half to get a commission done just in black and white. So for this video now, we're going to take a look at where to go from here and how we start to get into color. There's some neat little tricks in Procreate as well that I want to mention here that we're going to cover in just a second. A couple little tips and tricks that I would suggest and that I've learned either more recently or I've been using for years. A lot of this stuff I've learned from people like Nolan Harris, and I think I even may have learned the coloring technique from Nolan Harris. Glad I came inside when it did. It is raining cats and dogs out there. So, dude. This is going to get me in trouble for sharing another video. I'm sharing it from Facebook. Does that? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about colors here. First off, I'm going to make sure that all of my inked layers are put together. Okay? So as long as they're all put together, then we're good to go for color. And I'm just going to tap once, and I'm going to tell it to reference. Okay. Dude. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to select my layer that I'm going to put my skin color in. We're going to turn that layer back on. And we're going to go select my first skin layer. Now, the thing I like is that this has skin already built into it. Alright, I'm done showing you guys that. That's pretty fun. We're going to get out of here and close this. And there you go. You may recognize him. I'm going to slap on some music for me. And then I'll get to it here. Sound of silence. I like sound of silence. Okay, so basically the first thing that we want to do is begin the coloring process. And we could go in and take all this time to fill everything out with the pencil, or we could just do a bucket fill. Now, if you don't know the inner tips and tricks of Procreate, then you're going to be unaware of how to do this. It's really simple, and it's sad that it's so simple. But the thing is, you got to go and find some of the inner tips and tricks on how to work with this program, because as far as I can tell, they don't show you how. So we're just going to go ahead and start with the skin. We've already covered all this stuff up. Everything is sealed around the outside with my big black heavy line. And then also, when I come in here, we're going to start finding out what isn't fully encapsulated. So I'm going to go ahead and start by selecting my my color. I'm going to press and hold on that color and then drag down. And when it drags down, it'll fill. So once I select the right color, then we'll fill it with that right color. So there, drag and pull, and release. And you can see it filled it up really nicely. And the thing I do like is that Procreate does seem to add just a little extra. So you don't, if you zoom in really close, you don't see any white gapping, which does happen in big programs like Photoshop and other ones. They've obviously taken that into account, and I love that. So I'm just going through here real quick. This is some of the important stuff about doing this is you got to work fast. And sometimes that means that taking the time to color stuff in isn't the best way to go. So in key areas, I'll go ahead and fill in some stuff. But all in all, I'm very pleased with that. That's a very good start. Now, you can see that the eyebrows apparently have a gap in there somewhere. So let's go look. Here's a couple gaps right here. So let's go ahead and go to my reference layer. And we're going to go ahead and grab my black. And I'm going to quickly just try and fill in some of these areas so that those gaps are closed. Main reason I'm trying to do this is because I want to go ahead and color that the same way. Same with this eyebrow. find my connecting areas and put them together. Okay, right here, obviously, here. And I know it's kind of lame to have to go through and do all this, but in the end, the art process is going to be much easier. And if you're trying to work as fast as I try to work, it's going to be necessary. So here on the beard, I'm going to make my brush just a little bit bigger. Okay. Looking. Here we go. Here's another gap. Try and make sure they look fairly clean and on purpose, because usually I do draw with lots of gaps in my artwork. I like the lines and the colors to speak for themselves. But when it comes to this, that's not always the best technique. So we're just quickly filling this in, connecting these points, and when I can see about a way to make it more artistical, then I do it. Fill all this in. Okay, that looks good. Oh. Okay. And, of course, right here. There we go. Okay. You guys see any more? I don't think I do. Let's see how it works. So let's go ahead now and find our brown. And it's actually brown and red. So let me go ahead and grab brown. I'm going to go a little bit more into the reds. Just a little. Click and drag. Whoa, hello. And actually that's something to note here in a second. Ooh, itchy nose. Ah! Alright, so let's see if we try this again, what'll happen. Okay, so there's another gap somewhere. Let's go see if we can find it. So when all else fails, I just follow the lines around. We'll go along the bottom of the beard first. Okay, that connects up to there. That's fine. Coming through the mustache. The only thing I could think is maybe in the top of the mustache. But all in all, that shouldn't be happening. So, that looks fine. So out of curiosity, what if I drag it over here? It still does that. Alright. Fill the eyebrows. Fill that little part of the eyebrow. And now, going old school, I'm just going to grab my eraser, make it huge, and I'm going to not do that because that's on my color layer for my skin. Drat. Okay, so new layer. Fill that. Fill this. Okay. Obviously this isn't going to work. If I try to fill down here, it's going to fill up the whole thing. So, may as well run with it. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to have to erase a bunch of stuff here real quick. There's no such thing as real quick when it comes to erasing stuff. Now, I admit, I'm not on my YouTube. I just started streaming, so let me hop on there real quick. There we go. Okay. And YouTube. It's the beautiful thing about OBS. If you guys haven't messed with OBS yet, that's something to remember. Open Broadcast Software. That's what it's called. OBS. Okay. We are muted. We're good. Okay. And we're back from our brief intermission. Let's do the eraser, and I'm just going to do a couple quick sweeps with it. And actually, I'm going to switch over to my uncontrolled eraser. Basically, I love using stabilization. So now I can just go over this real quick and not worry about the stabilization. Stabilization is really good for inking, but not necessary for anything else, really. Inking, and you'll see in a minute, I do some shading. And I want those shadows to look really nice and clean. So that's important too. But let me come on down here. Okay. There we go. Get in there nice and deep. There we are. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this back in with a little bit of color and some key areas. So right there. Okay. And for now that's good. Let's keep erasing. Oh, there it is. There's my gap right there. Hang on, we're going back. We're going to fix this. Going back, going way back. We're just going to delete that layer. Here we go. Delete. We're going to go back to our inks. Did you guys all see that before me? Here we go. We're just going to fix this right up. I actually don't like doing fills on the bottom of the nose. I prefer the nose to artistically speak for itself. It will show the bottom connection for itself. To me, I like how this looks more than I like how a connected line looks. Okay. Which is not the most artistically sound thought, because usually on the bottom of the nose you're going to have a lot of shadow. So you would actually have a hard line down there anyway. But that's just my personal take. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Go back, go back, go back. There we go. To the reference layer. Let's make sure it's a stabilized brush. And bip. And I'm just going to clean up the bottom a little bit, and I'll carry it through. There we go. Okay, now it's going to work. Watch. Here we go. Moment of truth. Bip, and color, and a little bit more red, a little bit more rich. Pull in, and drop it! Ha-ha! There we go. And let's hit there and there. Zoom nice and close so it's easier to lay it in there. Okay, cool. Now those eyebrows are obviously a bit darker, so I'm going to fix that in a second. And I don't have this covered in yet or sealed, and I'm not going to worry about it because I do need it to look just like a little disconnected, because I want it to not look like a full patch. I want it to look like it's in kind of individual hairs, but kind of a blob. So I'm just going to fill this in roughly and then erase my mess. I'm going to shape it with negative composition, basically. Just think about drawing in negative, if you will. So like right here, I want this to be a connected hair. So I can either erase right here, or if I want it to look like a hair per se, maybe I'll cut it into here like this, which that might work better. So I'll just do this. And you can see how that kind of makes a bit of a negative effect, which is kind of cool. A lot of concept artists like actually creating their starting compositions using negative space. That's kind of cool stuff to watch too. Let's get this erased and clean this up and come down here. Okay, so that's nice and full, looks good. He's got deep brown rich eyes, so let's do that as well. I am going to do that on a separate layer in case I want to shade that differently. I'm going to go a bit richer and a bit deeper. Okay, and then I'm going to do one more layer, and I only have 12 layers to work with. That's one of the cons of working with high-resolution files in Procreate. It limits the amount of layers you can have. Okay, so the reason I'm coloring this gray, and you can see in like all of my YouTube videos, like all of them, I do this because then I'm going to shade it with white and it makes it pop. And you'll see in just a second. All right, so the next trick that we're going to start doing is we're going to start with shading on the outside of the face and work our way in. So I'm going to start by grabbing the skin tone. I'm going to take 2 fingers. I'm going to put them on the layer and pull and release. And you can see that it puts squares around that. I'm going to buzz on my phone, just making sure. Oops, sorry, I just got a text. Ah, my bad. It's my wife wondering what I'm doing for lunch. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. Fast forward through this. Okay. And actually, this could spoil this whole video, so there may not be a full video of us doing this. This may be one of the videos that disappears. So, now that I've done that, I'm going to do this for all these layers. So that's going to lock the alpha channels on everything. So the only thing that's going to be affected when I go in and color these again is the colors that I've already drawn. So we'll go into the skin tones here. I'm going to hold down on it and select a different color. And I'm going to just do a slightly deeper skin tone. I'm going to zoom out and grab my airbrush. There we go. And make it a bit bigger. And start just airbrushing in on one side and on the other. Now it's a bit too rich, a bit too thick. So I'm just going to drop my opacity by a bunch. And I'm just going to start going over this again on both sides. Cool. And I'm going to hit the neck a little bit deeper. So there you go. That's immediately you can start seeing depth in the face, which is really fun to see. I'm going to do the same thing up here, and I'm going to make it a much smaller brush. Like not nearly as feathered. So it's going to put down a bit more of a harder edge. Another text. Sorry, guys. Professionalism out the window. Okay. Alright, so the next trick that we'll do is we'll go ahead and make him not look like a zombie and color in his smile and his eyes. And so just using the same airbrush, I'm just going to get white. I'm just going to make sure that the airbrush is fairly small. And just gently just do... Whoa, okay, so obviously the layer lock is not on there. It is now. There we go. Now I'm going to come on here again and just get some white in there, and it'll pop it right up. And the goal is to keep some of the gray in there. That's the ultimate goal. You want it to look like the ball, like the eye is rounded inside the socket. So I always try to keep a little gray on the outsides and on the top. It just gives a lot of depth. And then what I'll do usually is I'll go in and I'll grab gray and maybe even go just a little bit deeper. And then I'll drop my brush but bring up my opacity, and I'll make sure that it's a really hard shape. And I'm just going to add in the shadow of the mustache overshadowing the teeth. Okay, so that gives it a little bit more depth. Alright, let's go ahead and start working now on doing some red. So I'm going to make a new layer, bip, and I'm going to select red, and then I'm going to make it a deep red, so more of a... And this is a trick that I learned from Nolan Harris. It's an excellent technique, definitely worth doing. I highly suggest this. The quickest way to get down hard shadows. So much fun, too. Okay, so just going to make sure I'm in the right layer. I want to be beneath my inked layer, but above everything else. I usually like to start here at the eye. And what I'll do is with a hard brush, and I usually use a fill brush with stabilization. And I'll go through here and start forming the areas where the sun is not going to be. And then, like I said before, if there's something that you're finding isn't working for you, then you go into the negative space and you reshape. So like right here, maybe I'll reshape this back like this. But the one thing I want to do is, once again, make sure that my eraser has stabilization programmed in it so that it makes it easier and cleaner when I erase. Let's make my brush a bit smaller. There we go. And let's hit this. And let's do this. There we go. Okay. So it might look a little weird at first, but you'll see in a second here I'm going to change this layer to multiply, and then I'm also going to turn down its opacity, and I can show you that. So we're going to go here to the opacity and layers and such. I'm just going to say multiply, and you can see that it maybe changed it a little bit. It's letting a little bit of extra color tone through, especially in the eye area here that you can see. And then what I do next is I simply drop the opacity until it becomes a natural shadow. And it just looks really cool. And it was really easy to do. And so then you can just have fun and spend a little bit of time shaping the shadows into the face. Looks like I'm taking my wife to Taco Bell. So that means that this video is now going to be very short-lived. But for the record, no one actually did leave a comment in the previous video saying that they wanted this as a coloring video. So this video will probably disappear into space and time and never show itself again once we actually get this done. No problem. I don't mind. There's a certain point in time where professionalism's out the window, and as soon as that happens, I'm kind of like, I'm not sharing this thing for junk. We'll get this video done, and you guys have enjoyed it for whoever hung out, and then it's going to get deleted. So you can see just by shaping some of this stuff, it's really starting to give dimension, and it looks pretty awesome, you got to admit. Looking at the sides of his eyebrows, the shadow kind of rolls around like this for him. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's there. Let's get some heavy-duty shadow under his nose. And like I said, the reason that you do this, you choose to do this route, is you can shade everything. And you can color it all at the same time. You don't have to change colors to do a different shade on a different part of skin. I can take a single line here, and I can just come down the side of the face and into the chin, and all that is done in one swoop. And I didn't have to do anything other than just draw it in. So it gives you a bit more time to be creative, and takes away a bit of that issue of not being certain about what to do next or whatever. So just trying to get some of these in here. And if you want to learn more about this, I promise you, I have so many videos on this. And then you can also go to the man, the myth, the legend, who truly has the best form of this, because I claim him to be one of the original creators of this theory, and I don't know where he got it from, but he's the guy I know. So look up Nolan Harris, and he will be able to show you all of his work and some of his videos, and you can see that he's got a very, very good set of instructions that he gives. And it looks like I'm about to go. So I'm just going to do a few more things here, guys, and then I'm bailing. I got to hop in the truck and drive across town. That's how lunches work in our family. So this just went from, hey, part 2 to, hey, I was never here. My wife comes first. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're going to come down here, and I'm going to shape this into here. And I'm going to bring this up and take this way and duck it down. Take it up, over, and down. And you can see it just gives it so much structure and definition. I don't like this whole thing, though. This has got to go. So I'm going to just cut this right here, I think. There we go. I'm also going to drop the opacity on this just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, let's get in here. If it's a guy, I'll go in here and I'll use the shadow as the bottom lip. If it's a girl, then I usually make a different layer and I'll form out the lip a little bit more and give a bit more structure, but don't need to really define much when it comes to a guy. I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to select white and come in here and bip. Another one over here, bip. Okay, and I just noticed that I always take a little bit of the deep red, and I always go over the inside of the eye just a hair. Just a little bit, just to continue that whole shadow idea within the eye, and you can see that it's over here too already. So it continues to give definition and depth to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and climb up this way. Okay. All right, now here's one problem I'm having is that the red that I just chose to finish the eye is actually a different red than my original. So what I'm going to do to get that is I'm just going to change this back to normal, give it 100%. Just click and hold to select the color. And then I'll just go back in here and put it back on multiply and bring it back down to what I want. That way I still have my red, and even if I want to, I could make another layer, and I can quickly just paint in that red, and then I can go back into my layer that's multiplied. So that way, if I need to, I can quickly get back to that shadow red. Now it'll look a little bit more like my other red, which is much better. Okay, I think I'm nearing the end of this because we got to scoot. I got to go get some food, but I'll show you one more fun little trick that I like a lot, and then I'll get out of here. This is a very simple form of color. You get this done, and you feel pretty good about yourself, and the person you're drawing it for will love it. But if you want to take it the extra mile, which I rarely don't take it the extra mile because it's never enough for me just to leave it at this. So what I'll do next then is I'll go ahead and I'll grab a new layer. And I think I go on top of the shadow layer. I think I go on top. Then I'm going to grab yellow white. Okay, so it's a very, very bright yellow white. And then down the back of the head, I like just to do this. Just down the back of the head here. Okay. Coming down this way, through the chin, right to there, and down the back of the neck. Okay. Right there, it looks pretty awesome, right? It gives it like a heavy highlight, which looks awesome. But then I go in here and I say, let's go to lighten and add. And I know you can't see anything right now. It's basically turned it white. And I'm just going to drop the opacity about 50%. Let's see how that looks. There we go. So it just gives it this really nice light feel as it goes through the back of the head. It gives it a lot of nice structure. It's really cool looking. Okay. For right now, that's going to complete this one because I got to scoot. But guys, thank you so much for watching. For all of my patrons, thank you so much for being here, even though it's been a long time for me to actually make another video. And just thank you for all your support. And you guys really need to understand how much I deeply appreciate you guys who are going the extra mile to try and help me financially, because I'm trying to do this full time. And I'm trying to do caricatures full time, and it's not as easy as it looks at all. So greatly appreciate all you guys over on Patreon. The last video that I just did that was an hour and a half long is going up on Patreon as a paid post. So for all you guys who are patrons, thank you so much for donating to the cause. It means a lot to me, and I really need to focus on doing more videos, because that is another source of income that I'm forgetting about while I'm trying to do stuff like this for my clients. If you want a caricature, get a hold of me on Facebook, and I'll be happy to get you drawn up, and I look forward to talking with you all soon. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you, and I will be back very soon with another stream, unless I decide to record it, but streams are fun, so see you guys.